Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm a 2000 rated over-the-board chess player. In this series, we're going from 1500 to 2000 elo in chess.com rapid games, where I'll be explaining my thought process as best as I possibly can for your education and entertainment. Today, I'm going to be trying to play another Jobava London system, although my opponent isn't quite cooperating with d5. I don't know all that much about the Jobava London, but it seems like a very interesting opening. I played it a few days ago in a previous episode of the speedrun, and I really enjoyed it. So let's give it a go. Again. My opponent's playing this knight f6 b6 thing, which looks like a Queen's Indian sort of system. So I'm not sure whether I should be going knight c3 in these lines, because I suppose d6 is always available to shut down the diagonal leading to c7. So I'm a bit more inclined to play it like a typical London system with knight to f3, e3, bishop d3, knight bd2 sort of things. Again, I'm not sure whether this is a good approach to this because, as I say, I'm not that well versed in the London. I'm kind of just trying it out. And I suppose a part of it is trying to prove that openings aren't that big of a deal because I don't know this opening all that well. And I'm obviously going to try to win this position regardless. So hopefully I can prove openings aren't everything, essentially. So okay, e6. This does look like a Queen's Indian setup. Yeah, e6, b6. Very, very typical. Bishops come here, knight comes to f6. I'm not sure where this knight is supposed to go. I have a feeling it's not supposed to come to c6. Maybe d6, knight bd7. But okay, let's just get castled. This also obviously resembles kind of like a Caro Khan structure with the, well, when we play c3 it will. Although we could go c4, knight to c3 instead to exert more control over d5, which is also an option. Okay, yes, d6 as expected. I do assume this knight is going to be coming to d7. So I think we should just take the full center with c4. We may go for e4 when the time is right, preparing it with moves like knight c3 and rook to e1. Okay. My opponent goes after my dark squared bishop with knight to h5, which, I mean, is slightly annoying, but it's really not that big a deal. I don't think giving up this bishop is the end of the world. Maybe a move like h3 is better to meet knight to h5 with bishop to h2. But as I said, I'm not 100% familiar with these opening positions, so this may be a slight positional inaccuracy. But, it's not going to end the game or anything. I do have to be aware of this pawn push, because it does have a lot of support from the black pieces. And we did actually have a similar pawn push in the previous London system episode of the speedrun. So h4 is clearly on the way. I'm not really sure there's anything I can do about that. To be honest, I don't think I can prevent it. So part of me just wants to focus on the center with the move e4. And then if h4, I can take. Yeah, no, I can take, because after bishop takes, there's no follow-up. As long as the queen can't get involved, then it's fine. So I like e4 because it stops the bishop from taking the knight. And obviously this looks incredibly scary, but we need to also remain calm in these types of positions. I think taking makes the most sense because allowing h3 seems very, very bad. Obviously, takes. I'm probably completely losing, so we're not going to do that. We can bring the knight to c3. We could bring the knight to d2. We have a couple options there. g3 makes no sense because you can see how mating patterns could link up on h1. We could try to play d5 to shut this light squared bishop down, which is actually a decent idea. But we could prepare that with knight to c3. We could also go knight bd2, like I said, but I don't think we need to give this knight loads of extra support. Knight c3 looks okay. And obviously, this looks terrifying with the black pieces lining up against my king. I suppose queen to h6 is on the way as well, which I probably should have been a bit more aware of. Does look a bit intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, okay. Well, we could try e5, but opening up this bishop does seem a bit counterintuitive. We could try knight to h2 to open up my queen. That does hang the d4 pawn, though. If we go d5, shutting this bishop off, queen to h6. How am I stopping mate on h1? How do I stop that? Okay, okay. What do I do here? I suppose I could go queen d2 and just stop queen to h6. If queen d2, queen g6, trying to come to h5 or h7, queen f4, hitting the bishop. That looks very logical. That looks very logical. So, okay, currently we're stopping this. We're also just bringing the queen out, connecting the rooks, which is obviously a good thing, adding protection to f2, depending on what happens. Very interesting position. Okay, the knight comes to d7, just developing the pieces. Makes a lot of sense. We could try knight to e2, attempting to play queen f4 to force a queen trade, which I like. Also gets the knight access to g3, which might be important to defend the h1 square. So, like, the knights together could be defending the kingside squares quite nicely. So, yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten either a worse position or just a very dubious position out of the opening, but that's the nature of not knowing the opening, right? Like, I don't know the London system all that well. But as I said earlier in the game, I'm just going to try my best. I'm going to try my best. If you're enjoying this video so far, by the way, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate the support. And my opponent castles queenside. We could go ahead and offer a queen trade. I don't see a reason not to. I think it's definitely in our favor. It also looks very difficult for black to decline the queen trade, to be honest, because how does he decline it? If he moves his queen, then I'm just going to win the h-pawn. He can't go to h6 because I'll just take him, and I will happily trade queens. I could actually just leave the queen there, to be honest. Yeah, the queen can go back there. I can't take because of take. But again, this is fine. The queen is out of the game now. I think I can start my own attack with the move b4, preparing a4, a5. Okay. Rook to h5, trying to double up, I assume. Interesting. Interesting. If take, again, that doesn't look good. The rooks are going to try to come to h1 if they can. If knight to g3, bishop takes. I would have to take with a pawn to give my king the f2 square. But that's okay. If a4 rook here, I think the threat is bishop to g5. And after takes as mate on h1. So if a4, rook d to h8, knight g3 looks forced. Which should be alright. I am aware that d5 opens up this attack, but I don't think he's ever really going to take it. Yeah, I'm going to have to do this. Take with the f-pawn, and then I can't stop rook to h1, but I can give my king the f2 square to run to. And in fairness, I do have a lot of space in this position. Although my king is incredibly weak, and it looks incredibly scary, I do have a really nice attack brewing. And if not an attack, I at least just have a ton of space in the position. Like d5 can be met with c5, for example, and I control the e4 square enough times to take back. And I'm actually, really getting into the black territory. This is a crazy position. Crazy position. I mean, the last game in the London system that I played was really crazy. Arguably crazier than this. But okay, yeah. I have king f2, so I'm not too concerned. This diagonal shut off. This diagonal is shut off too. And obviously, you're not getting to my second rank. That's a good move. That's a good move. Trying to open things up. Taking looks bad. So alright. What else can we do? We could go queen to g4, which I think I'm going to play. I want to keep an eye on e4. I also like the fact that I'm hitting the rook. I'm also pinning the knight to the king, just making it difficult for black to move. Because after take, I don't want knight to e5 being played, which is just an annoying move, right? It forks my pieces. So just pinning the knight to the king is obviously good. And if take, my knight is maybe invading and is actually quite an annoying piece. If d5 trying to take on b4, that's a bit nuts. But I don't think it's that good. I have c5, or I can maybe take and open up this bishop. There's a lot of different options here. There's a ton of options. But I don't think taking is a particularly great idea, so I'd like to reserve some time on my clock by playing queen to g4. Okay, that is a move, but I didn't think it was that good, because I can take. Maybe the point is e4, but then I just pin, which looks pretty good. My queen is under attack. So, I mean, I have to take, right? He's also defending g7, but I was never really going to take there anyway. Also, my knight is covering the g5 square, which is useful. Taking makes no sense, because then you just give up the light squares. No, that can't be good. That can't be good. The light squares are way too weak. Way too weak. Queen takes looks deadly. I'm up a pawn. You can't take, I don't think. I don't know, maybe you can? But you just don't have an attack. Check king f2. And things are somehow okay. I just have this pawn wall around my king, defending. And my dark squared pawns are keeping this knight away. Yeah, so takes queen a8, knight b8. It looks terrifying for black. What? Can I push? Can I not just push? This pawn looks monstrous. Okay, what if I just give this check? Okay, so check, knight b8. Still f6 looks like it should be played. I think there is an argument to be made for taking and trying to go bishop to f5 check to overwhelm the king. Check here takes, rook f8. Well, no, then I just taken here. Maybe queen h7? Yeah, and then maybe the open f-file is an issue. So let's just go f6 instead. Let's go f6. e4 is no longer a threat because my opponent traded off his light squared bishop that was controlling the e4 square. I think that was a losing mistake, to be honest. This is going nowhere. That's a free knight. Oh, no, I can't take because of this. Wow. And then king f2 and the rook no longer defends. Oh, that's a nice find. I did not see that. Okay, check king here. The king's alright there. The king just survives. And now this is a threat? Wow, okay. What about just rook a to e1? What about that? Covering the e4 square. That's definitely playable. c5 is also playable. Threatening this sort of thing is c5, e4, bishop a6, king b8. I still can't take because of rook h1. And again, my king goes to f2 and disconnects from the queen. Wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. I think the simplest approach is just to do this. I think this is the easiest move. Like, it seems like a very quiet move in such a crazy position. Like, there's checks, there's pawn breaks, there's more checks, there's a free pawn, of course. But I'm not interested in this pawn. That is of no concern to me. I think stopping e4 is very important, and I am maintaining all of my threats still. It may be a situation where the threat is it is better than the execution, basically. Like, the fact that I can go queen to a8 is probably better than actually going queen to a8, because it reduces black's potential moves, right? Because he's always got to keep this in mind. 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 He's got so many different things that he has to always be aware of, right? That hopefully it makes it incredibly difficult for him to actually do anything of use. And then I can try to keep piling on more pressure. That's my plan, anyway. That's my plan. King b8 would be a reasonable move, but I think there we just go pawn to a5, trying to go pawn to a6, and that looks ridiculously hard to deal with. Yeah, I mean, we also have this, threatening this, maybe? But then if my bishop moves, it no longer defends e4. He plays it anyway? What? Why can't I take? Bishop takes. Knight takes, rook takes. Check here. Is the idea queen takes, rook f8, king moves, and then he's going to take on f1? Maybe that's the idea. That is crazy. I'm not sure if it's that good, though. I also don't think I have a choice. Although, I could move my queen, and you can't take because of the pin. That's an option. It's an option. Wow, this is nuts. What about... No, rook takes doesn't help me. That doesn't help in any way. Bishop takes. Knight takes. What about queen takes? Check here. Check here. No, I'm just losing. I've got to take with the rook. Well, I don't see another option. I don't see another option, so we're going to do it. My opponent may just be destroying me here. I'm really not sure. But we are going up a pawn, at the very least. Rook takes. Again, the knight is pinned, though, so we don't have to do anything just yet. But oh no, there is a threat of mate. We could give this check. King b8. I'm not sure how that helps us. Don't see how that helps. We may be going into a queen versus 2 rooks endgame. We may be. I mean, a move like this doesn't really make sense. I don't think. I mean, this... I don't know. I mean, we have a few options. Don't know which is the best option, but we're up a pawn, which is good. But then again, my extra pawn is a doubled, isolated pawn on the G file, so it's not particularly impressive. Not particularly impressive. The engine is going to absolutely murder us both after this game, I'm sure, and tell us that we're both terrible chess players. But hopefully, this is an interesting game for those of you watching. I don't see how it couldn't be. This is nuts. See, the line I'm calculating is rook h1, king f2, queen e4, queen e4, rook to f8, king to e2, rook takes f1, queen a8. Don't know. There's a few checks. Okay, queen g7 isn't so scary. This is not what I was concerned about. I mean, there are still threats, though, right? There are still threats. But I think taking was the best bet. All right. Let's see. We could do this. Trying to get in here. But if this take, then queen here check. And we're just losing our queen. So that's no good. Check takes here. Here. No, the king is fine. The king is fine. Just. The threat is this. Winning my queen, I think. I do have this, but... What about rook to f4? Trying to infiltrate. If king to b8... again, there's no easy way in. No easy way in. Okay. What else can we do? I can never offer a queen trade because my king will be forced to f2 and my rook will be disconnected. So that can't happen. I could go queen g4 check. King b8. I'm not sure what I'm doing there, to be honest. I'm not really achieving anything. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. I could go rook f to e1, threatening these ideas, followed by this. Or, like, check followed by this. If rook f to e1, check here. Well, then I have this. If rook f e1, check here takes here, I'm losing my queen. So the king would have to take. And then I don't love that position, I don't think. If here takes check here, that's no good. Wow, this is crazy. I could just try a move like c5, but I don't think it works. Don't think it works. What about just rook here? Trying to trade everything. I think that's what I'm going to go for. Because now there's never any rook to f8 ideas. Because the queen is shielded by the rook. I'm also opening up the avenue to a8 for the queen. I'm maintaining defense of d4 while also monitoring the f file. Check is now okay because my king is shielded by the pieces. This is interesting. This is interesting. Maybe I'm threatening these ideas, although, of course, I do have to be very careful of queen takes d4 check, which could lead to checkmate after something like here, 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 and mate on h1. So it's still a very, very tough position. Very, very tough position. That definitely should not be understated. And we're also getting very low on time, which makes this rather difficult. Rather difficult. We maybe have ideas of rook to f6? Blocking the queen? Trying to do, like, these sorts of shenanigans, but I'm not really all that impressed with it, because just king b8, and then this never comes with check. What does black play here? What does black play? If I move, like, king to b8, I can do this. Here, 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 here. King b7. And then, I don't know, like, rook back to f4. No, I don't even have to do rook back to f4. I could just bring the king and try and push for a win. Up a pawn, I mean, it's a not very impressive pawn, but I've also got more space. So that's an option, just to trade everything on f8, which is nice to have in the back pocket. If check, king f2, take, check, king back to f2, I think we're all good there. Rook to f8 is a massive threat because all of the squares will be covered apart from d7, and then I'll have something like rook to f7 check winning the queen. So black does need to be on his guard here. He does need to be on his guard, but this does look good. This does look good. I think this is the best option, trying to use all the pieces in tandem and open up the queen, keep everything guarded. Very well played from my opponent so far. He's making this very difficult for me to figure out. I also want to know from you guys in the comments who do play the London, what are you supposed to do against this? Like, is there a certain thing you should be going for? Should you still go knight to c3? I mean, I don't understand the point. Are we trying to go f3, e4 anyway? I don't know. Let me know down below. Maybe we're supposed to start with knight c3, so that if b6 we go e4. Maybe that's the point. And after bishop b7, I don't know, f3. Please let me know what we're supposed to do there. But anyway. I'm just interested because I'm trying to learn the London. I'm trying to learn the Jobava London because it seems really fun. And even when I've played the position wrong, it's still gotten me an incredibly interesting game. I am very happy with the way that that we defended this position and managed to keep our cool, not just get completely butchered, which, no offense, but a lot of you would have just gotten absolutely smoked in, 15, 20 moves after the H file opened. So you do have to maintain your calm in those types of positions, which I said earlier on. Opponent's using some of his time, which is obviously good news for us. You also have to be aware, you have to be careful if you ever move this rook off of the 4th rank, because it's doing a good job guarding this. Maybe we have some ideas of queen c6. Okay, well, that's just a free queen. I'm not sure why my opponent's done that. That's, yeah, just a free queen. He must have been so scared of the infiltrations that he did this, but this is completely lost for black. I still have to be a little bit careful, mind, because let's say I play queen takes g6. That should be a blunder. After check, king f2, and rook f8 check, and my opponent gets 2 rooks for the queen. I'm not sure how winning that is for white. However, what I'm going to do is I think, play queen here. Well, there is this. There is that. I'm trying to trade the rooks on f8, but I also need to keep an eye on f8 because I can't allow check here and here just winning the f1 rook. I've got to be very careful of that. Check here. This is actually a little bit hard to convert. I've got to be a bit careful. Got to be a bit careful. Ooh, you know what looks interesting is just lifting the rook so that I can just run the king and I can get to g4 if I need to. I think I like that. Yeah, let's just lift the rook and check. I don't have to worry about tactics anymore because the rook is well guarded by, lots of different things. Worst case scenario, I lose a pawn, but trade a pair of rooks, which is obviously good. So rook h1, I just have king to f2. There are no follow-up checks. If you try to swing over to a1 or something, worst case scenario, my king can always run to g4. It's shielded here, and shielded here, and shielded here. So it's absolutely safe on the g4 square if I need to run there. I think I like this plan. It seems very simple, which in these types of positions, simple is all you want. Simple is all you want. This is protected, by the way, so not concerned. Let's give a check. King b8 looks like the only try. Okay, let's give another check. See, now the issue for black is that his light squares are cut off, and he's very vulnerable to back rank mates. Whereas with king b8, then this move wouldn't have come with tempo. Okay. To be honest, I kind of just like the idea of running the king, but I suppose a5 is probably just as good. Yeah, this is guarded. And if you give this check, I'll run. Okay, yeah, you can try and be annoying, but that just leads to mate in 1. The whole point is that with my queen on the diagonal that I put her on, you can never move your rook because I will just back rank mate you. That was the whole point. So GG. This will be an interesting game review because, yeah, not a fantastic opening, I don't think. We kind of just gave the advantage away to black very quickly. But we brought it back. So 71.3% accuracy for myself, 65.1% for my opponent. Absolutely all over the place. So let's get into the analysis. So we start with, of course, d4, knight f6, bishop f4. And if d5, then I will continue with knight c3. And I have learned quite a few things from the last video. For example, in the last video, my opponent played a6. I should not be going knight to f3. I should be going e3. So that if bishop to f5, I believe f3 is the idea, if I'm correct, to try to pawn storm the opponent, and then knight on f3 blocks that. But okay. Here, I couldn't figure out if knight c3 was playable after bishop to b7. f3 is the move, but after d5... Oh, then knight b5, knight a6, h4. What? Okay, e3 is also a move, though. Okay, so we bait them. We bait the pawn to d5, and then we use this diagonal. Because I was saying, well, the pawn's just going to come to d6 if I go knight c3 and block everything off. But okay, I see the point now. And if black plays a e6, for example, then we just take the full center. Right, I get it. I think I get it. I'm learning on the go, guys. And also, please, comment down below, because I know a lot of you know more about the London than I do, so let me know if what I'm saying is correct, or whether I'm missing something, etc. But okay, knight to f3, bishop b7, e3. Computer prefers h4 or h3, immediately giving the bishop a hidey hole, which I suppose we come to see why that was important. e6. Again, I should be playing h4 to tuck my bishop, but I don't, bishop e7. Again, I should be playing h3 or h4 to tuck my bishop. Again, I don't. So I'm understanding the importance of this now. Again, h3, but I don't. I go c4, knight h5. And here, bishop g3 is wrong. I should instead just go knight c3 and allow this trade. And clamp down on e5, I suppose. Something like rook e1. And yeah, maybe f5 at some point does look quite strong, actually. So you live and you learn. Bishop g3, take, h5. And this looks terrifying, but e4 is wrong. Okay, why? Knight c3 is better. If my opponent continues, g4. And if h3... What? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I'm never playing this in a million years. That's just not happening. Not happening. No. I go e4. h4 is wrong. g5 is better. Okay, because you want to take with the pawn and then push h3 anyway. So h4. I should go g4. And if h3, not taking, but g3. Trying to go for something like this. So here, I obviously don't take. King to h1, and then apparently I'm just okay. And then I can continue normal development. Alright then, whatever you say, Mr. Stockfish. What do I do after this? Now I... Oh, I mean, come on. Really? Really? g5, king g2, queen d7. Oh, okay, I see. And then what, queen e2 or something? Yeah, okay. And we're just going to trade on the h-file, and I'm just up a clean pawn. I can maybe even go f3 in some lines to keep the pawns very well protected. Really interesting, but okay. I take, bishop takes, and I thought I was okay here, and I'm not losing, but I'm definitely not better. Queen f6 is wrong. I should go g3. What? Bishop g5. Of course, I'm not going to take it. Again, it wants king g2 and rook here. I just thought this was ludicrous to weaken this diagonal, but the computer's basically saying, look, you're defending this fine, and if d5 ever happens, you can just take, and if takes, well, you can win the pawn, or you can just push the pawn. Both look fine. But after takes, this diagonal just doesn't open. If c6, knight e4, oh, yeah, and then the pawn will take, and again, the diagonal will not open. Queen d2 is wrong. Okay. Okay, queen d2 is wrong, but it's still the computer's, like, third favorite choice. It really wanted g3, which, again, just looks terrifying. Knight d7. Knight e2 is a mistake. I should go queen e3? What? What's the point? Queen g6? Now we take, and we go f3, trying to run this way. e5, d5, queenside castle. Yeah, we literally just run. And again, I think the computer just wants to trade. If this, then this, double up. And then we just say we're defending, and then we push ourselves. Wow. Knight e2. You guys obviously know why I played that. Well, not the only move. The best move is g5, taking away the f4 square, which makes sense. If knight takes, rook takes. I thought I had knight g3 ideas, but I think that it's still bad. Why? Here. What's the problem? Rook f to e1. Queen f4. Okay, well, obviously, I can't take, because then my knight has to move, and I get mated. And if I don't move my knight, I lose my knight. So what if I just do nothing? Oh, you're threatening... No, you're not, because I'll take with a pawn. And I'll have this. So what if I just do nothing? Knight f6, if I keep pushing. Knight g4. Then you attack the queen. And if queen shifts... Ah. Wait, no, not that. No, no, because then I can run. The point is to take with the rook and then this. Wow. I went queen f4. The computer actually wants to trade and claims black is better, which you can understand why. I mean, bishop pair, open h-file, it's very good. But I feel like I can play this position and get something out of this. But queen f4, my opponent declines the queen trade. I went b4, which is a big mistake because of g5. If I hang around, then knight f6 and my queen's just getting trapped. So I'd have to go queen e3, g4, knight h2, bishop g5, queen g3, knight f6. Going after this. What about d5? Obviously blocking this. Rook d to g8. And I just can't move. I just can't move. Yeah. I guess my only chance is to maybe try and throw pieces at my opponent, but knight h5 is a killer. I'm going to be forced to take and open up the g-file, which I can't do. So rook h5 is a miss. Here g4. What? Okay. I went a4, which is okay. Rook d to h8, knight g3. Again, it wants g4, which just looks nuts, but okay. Knight g3, bishop g3, f g3. Here, I felt all right, because I was like, okay, I can always get out now. e5. Queen g4 allows the immediate f5. And if takes, knight f6. Why is this so bad? Queen g6, bishop f3. If this, check here. Oh, I lose the rook. Okay, so if pawn takes, then yeah, this just can't work. This just can't work. I'm getting surrounded. Okay. Okay. Well, my opponent goes f5. Oh, he does play f5. ef5, and then goes bishop f3, which I thought was a big mistake, and it is. It is. It's still better for black, but not by much. Queen f3 is the only move with these ideas. g6, big mistake. d5 has to be played, which I think I saw. I think I saw this move. Threatening this, threatening this. And here I've got to go rook a to e1, like I did in the game. After queen b4. Queen b4 is not a particularly natural move, I don't think. And here I should take, and after takes, bishop c2, rook h1, king f2, rook f1, rook f1, queen d2, queen e2. And if take, take, black is up a pawn with a better pawn structure. The issue is the 4 versus 1, really. My 3 versus 1 is not very mobile. But okay, that's a very long line to go down. That's like 10 moves. So g6 played. And queen a8 is the best move. After knight b8, I do this. Really? And after this, rook f8, king e2. And I allow this? Because I have queen e4, okay. But why is this so good? Is it just because the pawn is so close to promotion? Something like take, rook e8. Wow, king d1. Take, g7. Here I have check followed by promotion. And then this is just completely winning rook versus knight. Like knight in, b5, knight here. Rook g7, king back. And these pawns are just too big of a problem. f6, though, is a miss. I could have also actually taken. How? Check here. I thought this was a problem. Well, let's say takes. Rook takes is the only move. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought there was this, but I can just go bishop f5 followed by g4. And if this, queen f4, and I'm okay. Check, king e2. Of course, I can't take because of this, but okay, nuts. F6. Knight F6 is the best move. The only really good move. The only really good move. And the point is that if I take, then Rook H1, King F2, and Queen takes. The Rook is disconnected. Rook A to E1 is a blunder? I should... My only chance is to take. No way. No way. E4. Queen F4. Check. King F2. If takes, I'm somehow better. I mean, I could not tell you. King G1. If take, then take. Oh my god. Rook A to E1 is a blunder because of E4 anyway, which my opponent plays. I take because I couldn't see anything better. And my opponent has one way to win this. Rook H1, King F2. Rook takes, King takes. Rook H1, King F2. Rook takes. And after King takes, I'm just losing a piece. Wow, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. Didn't even consider that. So here, I should have gone Queen F4, which I saw. Of course, if take, then take. But I thought that my opponent could give me a check and then take. But actually, I can take with the bishop here, which I missed. This is no longer hanging, and this still maintains. And this is somehow playable. My opponent also missed it, though. Rook takes. Here, I thought my opponent could go Rook H1, King F2. What was the line? No, it wasn't. It was this. I thought that he could do this. After King F2, Rook F8. Oh, no. So if this happens, yes, you can. But the point is I have Queen F4. And after takes, this is a winning king and pawn endgame. Because I'm up a pawn, but I undouble my g-pawn. So it's winning. Wow. Knight e4, though. Rook e4. Queen g7. Best move. The game is equal. Rook f4 is the best move. Awesome. And here my opponent obviously blunders the game with King d7, which just allows Rook to f7 check. He had many other options. I was expecting King here, in which case I was looking to trade all the pieces. And after King b7, I mean, there's lots of different things. We get something like this in King f2, Rook here, I have Rook here. I think, obviously, this is either a draw or white wins. This is a 2-result game, which I will happily take. Happily take. My king's going to get in. Like, the only drawing move here for black, well, the only move that can maybe draw is a5. Everything else apparently loses on the spot. If, like, c6, King g3, and, oh, your rook's getting trapped. We've had that in an old video on the speedrun, actually. But okay, yeah, he just loses his queen, and then the cleanup is relatively easy. My opponent blunders mate in 1. That was a crazy game. I really need to book up on my London theory. Please, please let me know down in the comments if you guys know more about the London. What should I be doing against this setup? What should I be doing? Am I still trying to go f3, e4 after knight c3? I don't know. Please tell me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see my previous video on the London, which I would argue was an even crazier game than this one, check out the video up here. And if you want to see the previous episodes of the speedrun, check out the playlist down here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in one of those videos.